Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. It's week 7 in college football, and this is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show where we talk to Brent, the head lines manager at DSI Sportsbook. There's a lot of interesting games this week, 3 really interesting ones that I want to ask you about specifically, Brent. And of course, the first one, Michigan State against Michigan, right? Michigan, 3 straight shutout wins and, of course, covers. Michigan State, hopefully everyone has picked up on this, 0-6 against the spread. Michigan State, though, getting a lot of points in the rivalry game. I'm guessing that there's a very high volume on this game and that from the public, it's split right down the middle. From the sharps, I couldn't even begin to guess. I would guess that they were on Michigan State or that they have passed on this one completely. What can you tell us, Brent?
Yeah, they've passed so far, Peter. I guess they couldn't begin to guess either,
right.
Like yourself. Yeah, I mean, right now I do have, I've got a lot more money on Michigan State, and I've got a lot more betting volume on Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that was respectable that came in was on Michigan -7. They came back on Michigan State +8. We're sitting at 7.5 right now, so it seems to be a number that's just going to bounce back and forth. It might go between 7.5 and 7, back down to 7, up to 7.5 and 8 or whatever. But it's just been bouncing between, basically 7 and 8. Sharp money involved, kind of respectable money, we'll call it, on both sides of this game. And the count, like I said, is about 2-1 in favor of Michigan State. My dollar volume is also 2-1 in favor of Michigan State. So, I mean, right now we're going to need Michigan at home, but it's a case where, the number seems to be working for us, just bouncing back and forth. If we really need the, Michigan money, we'll just drop the number a little bit, but it seems to be coming in quite good back and forth. And again, you can imagine, of course, you touched on it, the volume's been fantastic on this game.
Okay, and then the huge USC Notre Dame game, of course, the Steve Sarkisian drama going on with USC and Notre Dame, often a public-backed team and often an overvalued team, but they're 5-1 against the spread this year. So I'm guessing that the public will be favoring them here, especially in light of all the issues going on at USC. As far as the sharps, again, couldn't begin to guess, but I'm guessing that there's big volume on this game and that the public is heavily favoring Notre Dame.
You couldn't begin to guess yet your guess anyway.
I could not even begin. Yes, I could not even begin to guess, and then the next breath, I make a guess. That's just
No, you're right again here, Peter. In
am.
terms of just a lot of volume, basically both sides of this game. My count does slightly favor Notre Dame. Again, you might touch that being public money, but in terms of the dollar volume, I'm almost dead even, if not slightly favoring USC. But my count does favor Notre Dame. Again, that number was bet from like 5 all the way up to like 6.5 and 7. The bigger bets came in on USC plus the 7. Again, no one who would call on the list. We're sitting here Thursday with Notre Dame -6.5 and a total of 61. Not a ton of volume on the total either. They've kind of just sat where it is. The number hasn't moved a whole lot. But I mean, I definitely have more public money involved on Notre Dame, but I have big bets both ways. Again, 5, 6.5, 7 on Notre Dame plus a 7 on USC. We're sitting at 6.5 right now. I mean, if the game kicked off today, we'd need Notre Dame actually small just because we took some bigger bets at USC, but not. That's not to say that those bigger bets were sharper than the ones that came in on Notre Dame earlier.
Right. And then Alabama, Texas A&M. Huge game, right? Texas A&M, of course, off of a bye. Alabama off of the Arkansas game where they won easily but didn't get the cover. On this one, I'm going to guess that you did take sharp action on the over. I personally bet the over when it was 53. I'm going to guess you took sharp action on the over. And as far as the side, have to assume that the public is favoring Alabama once again.
So you bet the over, so we must have sharp action
that would be my normal assumption, yes.
This is a case where, I've got respectable money on the over, that's for sure. We're sitting at 54 right now on the total. But on the side, I do have sharp action involved on the home dog there, Texas A&M.
Okay.
Now we're sitting Alabama right now. We're sitting -3.5 and a total of 54. The sharp money that did come in was on Texas A&M plus the 5 now. So that number's dropped down all the way to 3.5 now. If you look at my actual wager count, I'm almost 2-1 in favor of Alabama, which is no surprise. If I look at my actual money, pretty much dead even. So again, most of the public are betting Alabama. The sharp action, the only sharp bet I took on this game was Texas A&M plus the 5, and we'll call your money respectable, Peter, and that was on the over.
Okay, sounds good. 3 very interesting games with interesting betting profiles. Brent, thanks for all that information. Now let's get to the section where we hear about what sides the sharp action from your list, the list of winning accounts have touched so far this week in college football week 7. What can you tell us, Brent?
I want to say there's some, strange action this week, and I've got some really good games that have been bet heavily, like LSU and Florida, which you might expect. But weird stuff like, Texas Tech at Kansas this week. Texas Tech, we're all the way up to 31.5. I'm not joking around here. I have one bet on Kansas, one straight bet on Kansas. That's it. No, I really, and I've obviously way outnumbered on Texas Tech. Just a ton of money on Texas Tech. So, I mean, it's crazy to have a chart that one side where people just don't want to touch a team. And so far with Kansas, that's the way it is. And another one, too, which is crazy in terms of the volume, is Charlotte at Old Dominion.
Wow.
Like if I told you that was like the second highest wagered game of the week, you'd think I was feeding a line there. But it's just I've got decent sharp action on both sides of that game. The sharp guys took Old Dominion when it was like 4.5 and 5. Line got driven all the way up to 7. When the line touched 7, I had sharp money on Charlotte +7 and plus 6. We're sitting -5 right now with Old Dominion as the home favorite. So it's a case where I've got actually 5 sharps on Charlotte, 3 sharps on Old Dominion, which is crazy to have 8 different sharps involved in the same game.
The entire list piled in on that game.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's basically like 75% of the list right there on that game.
Wow.
So it's just interesting to see in terms of from now up until game time. Again, Old Dominion is -5. It's going to be interesting to see that where that line goes. Again, they've been batting it back and forth. I've got slightly more money on Charlotte just because there are more sharp bets there, but the volume is just insane in terms of how much we took on that game.
Well, I'll tell you what. When I hear that information, Brent, that makes me think that Old Dominion is the right side, and that the people betting Charlotte just got attracted by the number. My sense is that when there's a favorite like that in a game like this, and the sharps biting, that those sharps are more likely to be correct than the underdog guys. Would you agree with that or not really?
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, I mean, I look at the quality of the sharps who bet it as well, and the numbers they bet it. Obviously, a guy taking +7 on Charlotte and a guy laying 4.5 on Old Dominion. Those guys are both pretty well sharp. So I mean, there's so much that's going to happen between now and kickoff. So we'll see how how it shakes down. But it was quite interesting just to see the insane volume I have on that game. It's always nice when something like that surprises you. The part of the show that you're waiting for in terms of the sharp stuff, Middle Tennessee State this week. They're at home playing Florida International. Middle Tennessee State is now an 11-point favorite. I took 2 different sharps betting Middle Tennessee State -7 and -9. Air Force is a game where I've got, 2 different sharps on that one, -3 and -3.5. It lines up to 3.5 right now. Air Force is at Colorado State. Texas A&M we touched on as a favorite there, +5. Virginia Tech and Miami, Florida, the sharp action on the total there, the under 52.5 was sharp, sitting at 51 right now. This is a game where, again, I've got 1 bet on the over, so that's not looking good for us. Moving down, Appalachian State. That's a heavily bet game. I've got 3 different sharps involved in this game, all on Appalachian State.
Wow.
-10.5, -11, and 11.5, all App State. Lines all the way up to 14. They're at UL Monroe this week, so we're fishing for some money back on the home dog there, UL Monroe. Washington State -7. That's some sharp action there. And Washington State over 59 as well. Now, Washington State is at home to Oregon State. We've gone from 7 up to 8 on the line now, and the total as well has gone from 59 all the way up to 62.5.
Well, on that game, I like the over myself. I did bet it, but I also liked Oregon State at +8, and I also bet that one. We'll see where these lines move and what happens. Brent from BetDSI, thanks so much. Talk to you again tomorrow for NFL Week 6.